you know? So you're not meeting anyone new that you, I mean, it's just that because of the Chinese app, I think that people are probably more, I think because of the Chinese app, and the app is literally in Mandarin, it was not created for a Western audience, that it quite literally is designed to, for Chinese people to be more free about their perspective. Because as far as like talking to Chinese people living in the Western world, and this is something that like my Chinese chatters will probably also will openly admit here, okay, is that many Chinese people are a little afraid of expressing any sort of pro-China sentiment in the West. I wonder why that is the case. Because most Americans have like an insane number of like crazy opinions, and this is, I think, I will say this, the most charitable interpretation is this, okay? We have the capacity in the United States of America to look at other countries that do the exact same thing that we do, but then somehow treat it as though it's like this super secret, super nefarious, super evil thing. It's the dynamic that I've mentioned before. It's the dynamic between gulags and work camps versus slave labor in prisons in the United States of America. This is what I mean. You're missing the point that I'm making here. The point that I'm making here is that I criticize America all the time. I have no motion in actually changing things here, and I criticize the administrative state of the Chinese government as well. But the difference is a lot of Americans, a lot of people in the Western world in general, genuinely think that it's just like so much worse over there. It's so much scarier over there. My job is to try to explain to you that, like, no, there are issues in China. Of course there are. Every single state has a litany of complications, a litany of issues, and that it is not all that different from the issues that we foresee and we experience here. And in some instances, not as bad even, right? That's the difference. Think about it. Think about what Israel's been doing in Gaza right now. Although the surveillance mechanisms that were implemented and the re-education camps and all this stuff was like completely unacceptable in Xinjiang, okay? If Israel operated in the way that the Chinese government operated against like what they called the separatist Uyghurs, okay, that were radicalized or whatever, if Israel operated that way against the Palestinian population in Gaza with the interest of still full-blown integration, everyone in the world would be literally cherishing Israel as the greatest country on the planet. Do you understand? And then when mods ban these guys, which is understandable because they're derailers, they will turn around and be like, oh, your mods are so censorious. I get it, but that's ridiculous. Like, you think China was doing a bombing campaign in Xinjiang where they dropped multiple nukes worth of munitions into Xinjiang with the express purpose of like destroying every building while they simultaneously trapped the entire captive population of Xinjiang? No, you know what they did? They built high-speed rail into Xinjiang and worked specifically for integration. And to be fair, that process was incredibly brutal, and it still continues to a certain degree.
Upheld the law that could ban TikTok. The justices ruled the law does not violate the First Amendment. The popular video sharing app now faces a ban in the U.S. unless its Chinese parent company, ByteDance, sells to a U.S.-based company in the next 2 days. Let's bring in senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer and ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer for more. Devin, does TikTok have any legal recourse left, or is this it? Sell or be banned?
Well, this is the final word on this law, Diane, and the Supreme Court just moments ago handed down a unanimous opinion that was not signed, meaning that it was supported by the entire court. We don't know who wrote it, but it does look like Chief Justice John Roberts saying that TikTok's argument that this law passed by large bipartisan majorities of Congress, signed by President Biden, does not violate the First Amendment rights of the company or its 170 million users here in the United States. The justices explain at length how a law like this one meets a significant government interest of protecting the United States national security for a number of concerns over Chinese collection of Americans' data and also their alleged use of the platform to spread propaganda in the United States. And therefore, by this decision, the Supreme Court effectively says that this law can stand and the ban against TikTok can go into effect on Sunday unless the parent company ByteDance, that's the Chinese-owned company, sells its stake to any other buyer that is not a foreign adversary of the United States.